Hello, I'm Lavetta Jenkins, the Outreach and Wellness Coordinator for Barrier Breakers, and today we have a special video for you to see on mock admissions. And we're going to have a panel of people, experts, I would even say, that are going to pull back the curtain on the admissions process and really let you see all of the things that can kind of seem invisible and make them all super visible and super plain for anybody who is beginning their admissions process. So stay tuned for more.
If you've ever wondered what really happens when your application's reviewed, this mock admissions panel is going to pull back the curtain on the college admission process with experienced admissions professionals who we have today, reviewing some sample student profiles live and discussing academics, extracurriculars, essays, and personal context as they're going to demonstrate a little bit like a sampling of some of the things that go into some real-time decisions. But I do want to introduce our panelists, then get started. So Mark Detterline is the Senior Assistant Dean of Admissions and Director of Selection at Swarthmore College, where he oversees all aspects of Swarthmore's holistic and contextual application review process, including serving as chair of early decision and regular decision committees, which we are so excited about. He's a first generation student. Like many of you that are listening, he attended Lehigh University, where he majored in political science. And he enjoys serving as a faculty for organizations that support underserved populations like College Horizons and the Cherokee Nation College Prep Institute. He is really involved in the Pennsylvania Association of College Admission Counseling, and he serves as faculty for that summer institute. He's the proud father of two children, and we are just so happy to have him here. We are also thrilled to welcome Erica Woods, who's a college admissions and access professional with over 15 years of experience in higher education. She has a BA in sociology from the University of Michigan and a master's in ed in urban education from Temple University. She has devoted her career to demystifying the college admission process and dismantling societal barriers to education for students of marginalized identities. She's originally from Detroit, Michigan. She currently lives and works in Philadelphia as the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Admission for Villanova University, and she serves as the Director of Public Advocacy for the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling, something our panelists have in common. PACAC recently awarded Erica with the 2025 Gary M. Kelsey Human Relations Award, which is given to those who make outstanding and voluntary contributions for the betterment of students, particularly those who advance the human dignity of minorities and or the disadvantaged. She's also a very active member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Rho Theta Omega chapter, and she leads a subcommittee focused on hosting public policy forums. She is an overly obsessed pet mom to her dog Lexington and her cat Sebastian. Erica and Mark, thank you so, so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having us. This is really cool.
Yes. So I know that you guys are experts in doing these sort of conversations. I'm going to give it to you. If there's things that I need to share with the students, just let me know. And if students have questions afterwards, like I said, we'll be sure to connect them.
Sounds good. All right.
Awesome.
Well, so we have been so hi friends. Thank you for joining us today from all over the world, as we got international included here. So yeah, so we're being tasked with talking through some applications. But first thing we want to do is really kind of talk about this holistic application review. Like, what does that mean? Because you probably have heard that term before, right? Everybody talks about holistic reviews, but like, Mark, what does that even mean? Like to have a holistic review?
What you're going to hear as you're going through the admissions process a lot, especially when you're asking questions of colleges, is it depends.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is no different. It really does depend, but the overarching general theme of a holistic review is just the idea of getting to know a student as a whole person and not just as a transcript, right? Obviously, as you're going through this process and you're thinking about college and you're beginning to apply, right, your grades are an important piece of that puzzle, certainly. But one thing that is really important to keep in mind is that you're a whole person, and
Yeah.
you need the admissions committee to get to know the whole person, and they can't do that if you don't tell them things. So
Right.
when students are going through a holistic review, It means that we are reviewing your recommendations. We are taking a look at those essays. We are really diving into everything that it is that you're telling us so that we can get to know you as a whole person. Um, and so that's how I view a holistic review. I think there are probably some other ways to go about describing that. But that I think that's a simple way to put it, Erica.
Yeah, I would agree because I mean, because it's true. Like every school is going to say it, but they're all not going to do it the same particular ways, you know? Like I
Mhm.
think what it really boils down to at this point is like, are you going to be a good fit to the university? We talk a little bit about not just building a class, but shaping a class. We talk about like we're bringing in actual people, not just transcripts. So a holistic review is not just going to say, okay, this GPA, this test score, admission or decision. It's really like, okay, who are you? What are your circumstances? Let's try to figure out as much as we can. Well, as much as the Common App will allow us to, at least,
And that's why being your authentic self is the best thing that you can do in this process,
Totally
right?
true.
Because if you are applying to a college and telling them things that you think they want to hear, that's no good because you might get admitted for reasons that aren't you.
Yeah.
And so you want to be authentic through this whole process, and a holistic review will allow the admissions committee to get to know the authentic you.
hmm And just as you have an identity, colleges have an identity. And I don't think we think about that colleges are also having certain characteristics of certain cultures, things like that. So, like, you may not be the best fit for every single school, just like every school may not be the best fit for you, and that's okay. That's why you're going to hear this emphasized over and over again about just show us who you are, being yourself, because that's what we want to see. We want to bring in students that are already fitting in within our campus culture, within our campus climate. And that's true for any university. So if you're trying to figure out how to best approach an application, do your research. Look into a school's identity. Look at those mission statements. Look at the things they're putting on their website. Look at the things they talk about that's important to them. What are their values? What are the kinds of things that their students are involved in? Because if that's going to show you, yes, I actually do fit in here, or oof, I don't know, this may not be the best thing for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a couple of sample abbreviated
Yeah,
applications. They are certainly not the entirety of an application because, you're going to put a lot of time into an application, and these are not doing that entirely justice because,
right.
this is just for example, right? We just want to get you thinking about what we're thinking about on the other end when we're going through the process of a review.
We're gonna kind of talk through it together. And to be honest with you, there are some universities that do review applications in similar ways where you'll have two people reading the same application at the same time and they're talking through it together. So the way that we're doing this right now, honestly, it can be a common way that some universities do review their applications this way. So, um, just putting that out there, just so this is not like abnormal. But to Mark's credit, you'll see that this is a very stripped down version because the reality is we have a short time together and we want to make sure that we're getting through and getting to the point quickly. So your actual applications, of course, will contain so much more information, so much more data. But this at least gives you an idea of the kinds of conversations that we'll be having internally here. So
Okay.
we're starting. So you're going to see us a little bit. We're going to two screens, so you might see us looking off into the distance. That's we do that in real life too, but this is just because we're looking at another screen here. All right, so we got Maya Thompson. She's from a large public high school in New Jersey, a state that we both know very well with our respective institutions. So she's at a suburban high school, so they have a lot of APs and honors, because that's another thing that we like to say, like it's important to evaluate every single student within the context of their high school, because sometimes, certain high schools might be really big with like, almost 1,000 students in a senior class. Some high schools might have 10 students in a senior class. Some high schools might have, 20 different AP options. Some schools have one AP or no AP, or they do IB. So that's what we got here with Maya.
Yeah, that's really important information to give out there, Erica. One of the craziest statistics that I've heard repeated at many conferences that we've been to, we've probably heard some of the same people say it, that in nearly half of the high schools in the United States, calculus is not offered. Okay, so in a scenario where calculus is not offered, how could we expect you to have taken it, right? And
Exactly.
so
You can't take
that's
what you ain't got.
right, exactly,
Right.
exactly. What are
Exactly.
you going to do? Go jump to another school for an hour a day? That's not
Exactly.
feasible. I
No.
think your principal might have something to say about that. So,
It's called
yeah,
skipping in other contexts. You probably don't do that. Don't do
that's right.
that.
That's right. But so you'll see here as we're looking at the academic portion of Maya, she's a strong student, right? I think
Mm,
by most measures, we're doing well here. We'll notice that she's test optional. So
mhm.
that's a buzz term out there these days, right? I think a lot of institutions have talked about test optional. You wanna talk about that a little bit, Erica?
Absolutely. So I always think of test optional as like a spectrum because, there's some schools that are like test blind where nobody submits a score no matter who you are. No one submits a score. Then there's some schools on the far end that everybody submits a score. And then there's those of us that are kind of like somewhere in this nebulous middle, right? So with test optional, it does depend on the institution. There's some schools where they have like do no harm testing, meaning if you submit the score, we will only use it to your advantage. There's some schools that prefer testing for specific majors like nursing or engineering or business or those more like pre-professional programs. And there's some schools where, you can submit it and it doesn't hurt you at all if you submit or if you don't. So it really kind of just depends on the institution. But these are questions you can ask. Like we don't hide that information. Like when people talk to me about Villanova, I tell them we're test optional, we mean it, but if you submit the score, I have to use it. So we do no harm testing, but some schools do. So like you can just totally ask that question. And for the school that we're reviewing for right now, um, we don't know because we don't have like a general understanding of our school, of our institution. But just putting that out there in case you're thinking about test optional, the policies are going to vary from school to school.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, so I'm glad she's challenging herself though. So she's got 7 AP classes. What was her? Oh, her major is bio. Okay, that was my next question. What's she majoring in?
Mhm.
So seven
Yeah.
APs, even in the senior year, she's got three, which is great. Um,
Yeah. When we look at her activities, it looks like she's really doing a lot to make sure that her interests are somewhat aligning with what she wants to do in college. So that's always a
mhm.
good thing to see, right? She's doing
Yeah,
some volunteering and shadowing at a local hospital. She is president of the Health Careers Club. She's busy.
she a busy girl.
Maya is busy.
Maya working out here. Okay, Maya working at Starbucks too, so give her credit for
Hmm.
that.
That's
But
all
it's
right.
also she also has so that she has some caregiver responsibilities, which seems important. So she's doing that as on top of everything else. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. Um, so okay, she's got a few awards there too. Typical things that we see like NHS, AP Scholar.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
love that for her. So let's look at her, like some of the other sort of non-cog things. Like, okay, so her it seems like she comes from a household that doesn't speak English, maybe because of that she's translating for her grandmother. So obviously her grandmother doesn't speak English, but I wonder if her parents do, or if like she has English as a second language. um, which could, impact her ability to do a lot of stuff. Because if you're out here going to doctor's appointments and translating things, that's a job in and of itself, in addition
That's
to,
right.
her actual job in soccer and tutoring and everything. So she's got a lot of responsibility.
Right. And thinking about some of the stress that might put on her while she's doing her other activities, that can be really
Exactly.
tough. That can be really tough.
But she's
It
maintaining a good GPA even throughout that. So that's very impressive.
She is. She's strong academically, and the counselor seems to think that she's doing really well in the context of the school. Her counselor notes that she is taking the most rigorous science curriculum that's available,
Hmm.
all while balancing all of the responsibilities that she has at home and away from the home. So that's really important for us to take note of.
those counselor recommendations are super helpful for stuff like that. So like the counselor recommendations just give us context for you as a student, but also you as a student within the school. Because some, like, let's say there was a weird thing that happened to school that year. Like, I just talked to some parents that were saying how, due to the teacher shortage, there was no AP Calc teacher that year, so no one took AP Calc. That's important information the counselor shares with us. Or like in Maya's situation, where Maya's coming from a home that has really significant responsibilities in it, like the counselor tells us that so that we know. Students, you can also share that information, but sometimes you may not want to, and that's okay. The counselors can also tell us stuff like that.
Absolutely. And the last thing that is super noteworthy here, that the counselor is saying is that there are very few students at Maya's school who are also coming from a first gen background. So maybe there isn't a whole lot of opportunity for her to find her, kind of first gen community while she's in high school, which is not even necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely something that we should be noticing, right? That maybe there are less people that understand what she's going through at her high school.
She's coming from a very different background, and who knows what she may have had to overcome or things that she's dealing with that's different.
Mhm.
So just important context to keep in mind. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I mean, we'll see the other applicants, of course, and then we can talk through some of the decisions. But like, I think she's pretty strong. She's pretty strong student for us.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the last things that we notice here, first gen. She's first gen.
First
Woo!
gen, one for your team, Mark. Let's do
There we
it.
go. There we go. All right.
We love a
Let's
first
move on.
gen.
Let's move on to Jordan and see what we got going on there.
All right, so Jordan goes to like an urban charter high school. We see that a lot as well. College prep school, some APs, but probably not as many as Maya school might have. Um, Totally fine, see it all the time. Business kid, he's like, I want to make some money. All right. So
Nothing wrong with that.
exactly. I think they're all applying RD, but we didn't really talk about the differences in
Mm,
applications. So maybe if we can take a little detour to talk about that too. So all the students are applying regular decision. There's different types of application pathways. So early action, early decision, and regular decision, and rolling admission are the most common. So regular decision is kind of simple. It's just there's a deadline, you apply by that deadline, we release decisions at that deadline. Very to the point. Early action is more of a communications tool where you're expressing interest early in a certain institution. So you might be applying by like October 15th and November 1st, November 15th, something like that. And then we'll prioritize review of your application and give your decision back faster. Early decision. That's the marriage proposal, okay? That is the one where you know that is your number one choice and you'll forsake all others for that institution. Okay? So that if you apply early decision to a school and you are admitted, then you're saying, I'm going to enroll at that school and withdraw my applications to every other school I've applied to. That's early decision. Now, that sounds a little scary, and I get it, okay? Because we're in ED school, so like I guess some students are like, oh gosh, that's a lot. But I'll tell you a little secret, okay? Because admissions folks know that that is a big commitment, we want to honor that commitment to you by also admitting more students through early decision than any other round. So it's still, in layman's terms, it's technically a little bit easier to get in through ED than anything else. However, it's a commitment. Okay. Just like a marriage, you don't want to do it until you're ready to commit. All right. So if you want to evaluate financial aid letters, if you want to see your other options, ED may not be the pathway for you. And that's okay. Most of our students, I know for Villanova, the majority of our applicants apply through early action. So if you don't want to do ED, it's not the end of the world. But just so you're aware that certain decisions, certain pathways can impact the way a decision comes out. Rolling admission is basically we're admitting as we go, and when the spots fill up, that's it, which means it's better to apply earlier through rolling admission schools because the most spots are available early versus at the end of the cycle where they're probably already a little bit full. So just to give you guys some perspective.
yeah, that was a great Great synopsis there, Erica. And
Thank
these
you.
are all questions that you need to make sure you're asking of admissions offices if you're having conversations with them, or you're talking to your counselor at school, or maybe you're working with, a community-based organization like Trio or the Olivets or anything like that. Make sure that you're talking to those people and weighing out your options before you're making some of these decisions. And you'll do great things. You guys are all gonna have
Yeah.
options. I know it.
So many
Erica
options.
knows
So many
it.
options.
And so
Exactly.
you just have to know yourself in this process, and then you can begin to make all the great moves that we know you're gonna make.
It's gonna be all right.
All right.
All right.
So let's
So here
jump
we
back
go.
in.
Back to Jordan with his 3.9 unweighted. All right. So he got three AP classes. So, which is actually probably pretty good for his school, especially they probably don't have a lot. Three APs
Mhm.
might be the best they got, you know.
Exactly.
1270. 1270 is a solid score. Let's see a little bit more about him.
Okay, so when we talk a little bit about the personal statement, it looks like there's a lot of responsibility going on in his family as well. He has to contribute
Mhm.
to his family's landscaping business in like a really meaningful way. He's doing some bookkeeping. I mean, you hire an accountant to do bookkeeping, so that's a tough job. He's managing scheduling. He's doing all kinds of really important work to promote and help the family business, which I imagine is taking a significant amount of his time.
hmm For sure. And I mean, he's clearly been awarded with some responsibility as he's vice president of DECA, he's treasurer for student government. So again, also showing demonstrated interest in business, since he's doing all this already. So he knows this is what he wants to do, which is really exciting, for a lot of business schools. Um, so he
Uh,
let's go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, it looks like he followed our advice, right? And that we gave you already, and he was authentic in the process. So it says that the essay was thoughtful and sincere, and that's a good way to go about it. We want to show that you're thinking a little bit. We want to see that you're telling us something that maybe we don't already know, is a really
Yeah.
good pathway to take when you're thinking about your essays. Though it's worth noting here that maybe it was a little less polished than we would have been hoping for, but that's going to happen. So let's see what else we can learn about Jordan.
Yeah. Also, I would say if you're doing your essays, think of it like a written interview because that's exactly what it is. Like your essays are really the only place you have a voice in your application, because everything else just like list your grades, list what you do after school. But like you can't really talk to us in real time except for your essays. So it's not an English paper because we know you're smart. English papers just talk about how smart you are. This is more like who are you as a person? So
Mhm.
so yeah. So what does a rec letter say?
Okay. Highly respected by both peers and adults. That is a
Mhm.
big win. You want your counselor to say things like that about you. We don't want mean people on our campuses.
No, we don't.
We
Who wants
don't.
that?
Um, so that's great. Talking about an upward trend in his grades, which is also good. That's the way you want grades to go. If they're not going to be straight A's, you want them to go upward. You do not want them to go downward.
Exactly. And that also gets at, so when we get your transcript, we're not just looking at the GPA at the bottom of the transcript, we're looking at the whole transcript. So I'm
Absolutely.
looking at trends, I'm looking at classes that maybe subjects you do better in than others. I'm looking at a wide variety of things. I'm not just looking at a GPA. So you guys can all access your transcript so you can look at yours right now, just the way that we would see it. It's not like a secret transcript or anything. Okay.
Okay. So we got some good stuff going on for Jordan too. Wow, I
Yeah.
like both of them. I think we might have a
I
hard time making some decisions.
know. I kind of like them both, honestly.
Oh, this is
Let's just
tough.
take them
This is tough.
both. Take them both, Mark.
Maybe, maybe,
We could maybe do
honestly.
that. We do what we want to do. It's fine.
All right, moving on to Ethan. Looks like Ethan is
Yes.
at an independent college preparatory school. So, what we mean in this process when we're referring to independent schools, it's just like a private school, right? Not public. is what we mean when we say independent. So it's a well-resourced private school with extensive advanced coursework and lots of enrichment opportunities. So that's really good to know, right? We know that the
Yeah.
school has some resources. So now we might be expecting the student to be performing at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
So let's take a
We essentially just want to see students who are taking advantage of the opportunities available to them, whatever those opportunities may be, whether there are a lot of opportunities or a few opportunities, you're taking advantage of what is there.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
so he's got a 3.8. Um, he's got 4 AP, only taking 1 AP in his senior year, though. Could
Okay.
happen more.
So maybe we're easing up the rigor a little bit. That's typically the opposite of what you want to do. If you're used to taking a bunch of tough classes, you want to continue doing that into senior year, at the same level or at a higher level. You definitely don't want to go backwards, unless there are going to be some situations where you're at a school, right? And by senior year, you've taken all of the hard classes. Okay. If your school only offers three AP courses and you took them all by the end of junior year, that's a good reason not to take AP courses in your senior year, right? Because
Yes.
there are no more for you to take. Um, but we know that that's not the case here for Ethan because we read that there is lots of advanced coursework available to him.
Yeah. And essentially, it's not just because we're being mean and we want you to have a hard senior year. It's really because it's going to help you to transition better into your freshman year. Because if you took a year of like snooze classes and you're supposed to start a freshman year in college, that's going to be a little rough. So we want you to
Mhm.
keep that same energy, you know?
So we see that 29 ACT score. That's a strong score. That's a good
Very
score.
strong score. Very strong
Like to see
score.
that. Okay.
Although I do wonder if I should a school like this, if ACT prep is built into the school.
Okay,
So
so looks like we got some questions popping in. So should we take a pause and answer a couple of these questions quick?
let's do it.
All
All
right,
right,
so
so let's check
let
on
me
the
s-
Q&A.
okay.
All right, so first question. Do you consider first generation students from any country the same way, or are US based first generation students considered differently or given preference?
That's a great question, first of all. So thank you for asking that. I'm going to give you a partial answer. And it's one that I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this when I said it depends.
Yeah.
So institutions are going to have different ideas of what they mean when they say first generation. That could vary. Some institutions will only consider it a first generation student if we're talking about US backgrounds. Some won't. It really varies, and you really need to kind of connect with institutions if that's something that's meaningful to you. If you really want to know that. Um, but I think first generation in the most general kind of context means that neither of your parents received a bachelor's degree anywhere. Um,
Mhm.
it's but like I said, that's something that you'll want to ask specific colleges because they might have different definitions.
Yeah.
Okay, Erica, take this one. Are dual enrollment
Cool.
classes equivalent to APs or are they viewed the same?
It depends. So, don't you love that? The reality is we evaluate every student within the context of their high school. Okay. So what we talked about before were some schools maybe they only have 1 or 2 AP classes. And let's say you exhausted all the rigor at your high school. So, but you still want to continue to have a rigorous curriculum. Dual enrollment is a fantastic way to continue with that rigor, even after the fact, you know? So if
Mhm.
it's a situation like that where like, hey, like I'm really working hard and like I've tried all the AP classes in my school or the IB classes are gone, I need something else. Doing a dual enrollment is an excellent option. I usually typically will encourage students to see what their school offers first. So if your school is offering you a ton of extensive curriculum, advanced level curriculum, see if that's a good fit for you first before we start looking elsewhere. However, there's nothing wrong with doing dual enrollment. We love to see it. We think it's a great way for you to get additional classes in, additional rigor, some college level related things. Because again, I want to emphasize it's all going to be taken in context of your school. So if you're at a high school where the students usually do a lot of dual enrollment. We're going to see that and understand that. If you're at a high school where most students do AP or they stay in-house, we're going to see that and accept that as well. So it really just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think the one thing I might add there is that if you know that you're going to maybe be applying to a lot of state schools or something like that, where they often accept dual enrollment credit and you're looking at it as a cost saving measure, right? So maybe you take a bunch of APs, or I'm sorry, take a bunch of dual enrollment courses while you're in high school, and then you get a year of credit once you get to the college. That can be a really important factor for a lot of families. So
Yeah.
making sure that the colleges that you're looking at accept dual enrollment credit as credit is really important. I'm not sure about Villanova, Erica, but at Swarthmore, we look at dual enrollment as a strong course, right? We know that you've done good work, but we do not uh, accept them in place of courses, right? So you're not going to get out of by the time you graduate from Swarthmore, you will have taken 32 courses. If you come in with two dual enrollment courses, that doesn't mean that you only have to take 30. That's not how it works for us.
Villanova is similar. So we tend not, so basically the rule is it cannot satisfy any high school graduation requirements. So if you're getting credit for that class to satisfy high school graduation requirements, we can't also give you college graduation requirements for the same class. But so that being said, a lot of times those dual enrollment classes tend not to transfer, or if they do, they transfer at a very minimal level.
Um,
Okay.
so we found out that Ethan is a strong student.
Hmm.
Looks like some of these activities are maybe you know, it looks like maybe he's not doing a lot of these things with other people, maybe. Um,
He's
we
not
could,
really involved at all, like TBH. Like, I mean, he did the summer program once. He's kind of a member, but like I don't see the same, especially we're comparing, I don't see the same level of involvement and depth and impact
Mhm,
of his commitment to his thing. Because that's the other
mhm,
thing, it's not just like doing things, but like the impact of what you're doing. I'm not
mhm.
really getting a lot of impact here.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. I think in his academics and his activities, we can definitely see the through line, right? There is definitely
Yeah.
engineering interest, maybe some computer science interest, but beyond
Mhm.
that, we're not getting a whole lot here. Um, uh, we see that he likes to fix things, wants to solve problems, but we're not getting a
Okay.
strong sense of his personal voice in the personal statement. So maybe a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I like, I mean, the testing is great. He's got, seems like with a 3.8, he seems to probably have more A's than not.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think just,
Okay.
coming from this high school that has a lot, I wonder, we're trying to get the best students from every single high school, and I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that he's really like, he seems like a lovely young man. I just, I don't know if he is, if we're looking at these three, I think that other students have done a little bit more than what Ethan's
Yeah,
doing.
I think I
Yeah.
would agree. I think I would agree. Okay. So historically, in a case study, what we end up doing is we admit one, we waitlist one, and we deny one. Okay. So I hope we're not going to tell you what the answer to that is because dun dun dun. This is me drumming in case you can't tell. Because there's no right answer here. Um, what is really important to note, and I hope you caught as we were talking about these students, is academically, they are all very similar, right?
Yeah.
They have GPAs that are similar, they have scores that are similar, they're taking advanced coursework, they're clearly competent. Um, but sounds like on the extracurricular end, maybe on the writing end, there's some things that are not coming through for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you'll find, even when we're doing these in real life and when we've done other case studies, is you can make an argument for any one of these students to be admitted. And that's usually the case, right? So usually what we're comparing between, it feels like we're splitting hairs sometimes because the reality is the majority of our applicants that apply to our schools are qualified. That's just
Mhm.
the fact. I'm like, yes, you were very much qualified to be admitted, but there's a difference between being qualified and being competitive. And also that competitiveness can vary wildly on the pool that applies, on external factors, on institutional priorities, on things that have nothing to do with the student whatsoever. So there's a lot of things that go into a decision. So I also say that to say, like, if a decision comes out and it's not favorable for you, I can guarantee you it's probably not because you did something wrong. It's more likely that there was something happening in the pool. The pool was just crazy that one year. Like, we talked about for us, like the Pope effect. It's like all of a sudden Villanova gets the Pope. Everybody want to come here. Like there's things that have nothing to do with the students, like it's just what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't take those things so personally is all I want to say.
That's a really important point, Erica. I think when you think about it, when you guys sit down and think about it, or you talk about it with other people, right? You're gonna apply to what? I don't know, between 5 to 10 schools. I hope you're not applying to more than 10 schools.
Oh, honey, these kids these days are applying to like 20 now. We got to get with the times,
Don't
Mark.
do it.
They're
Don't
doing like
do it.
20, 30 schools, Mark.
No,
Don't
no,
do
no,
that.
don't
Don't do
do it. Don't do
that.
it. But if that is the case, right? You're applying to 15 schools, you can only go to one.
Yep.
So it's really important to note that because of that, colleges have to admit more students than they're gonna eventually have on their campus, which means we're gonna miss out on a lot of students. And so we're making a lot of educated guesses as we're doing this. Just like you're trying to learn about us, we're trying to learn about you. And so just keeping in mind, like Erica said, that none of this is personal and none of it is a reflection of you as a person. It is often just a numbers game.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Question from the Q&A. Do you recalculate the grades as you review the transcript? It depends on the school.
I was trying not to say it depends, but I
I'm
couldn't.
sorry, I said it for you. I saw you. I was like, I'm just gonna say it. It depends. Every college or university does something different with their review processes. Some colleges and universities do recalculate grades, some don't. Some high schools don't give us grades at all or give us GPAs at all. So sometimes we might have to calculate a GPA for our own reporting purposes or for whatever reason. So there's a in that it depends. Just, sorry, it depends.
Absolutely. Okay. What are your thoughts on senior year doing work-based classes and internships along with a challenging workload with APs? I think the short answer is if you could do anything with a strong AP course load, that's a good idea. So, especially if you're doing some cool work-based stuff and some internships, that could be a really, really good pathway, especially if it's stuff that you're interested in. Um,
For sure. We want to see students that are able to like handle both, because when you get to college, you're not just going to be going to class and then going back to your dorm. You're going to be involved, you'll be doing things. So if you're already able to balance both, that looks great. So, but I do say to say, like, make sure you're able to balance both. If you're not, that's okay. Like, if we don't
yeah,
want you to take a ton of AP classes just to fail them all, take the AP load that you know you can handle alongside of other extracurricular interests that you may have. So it's really about like knowing yourself. So,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, we're fine. I mean, we can answer some more questions. I know we're supposed to have a
yeah.
7:45, but Mark, if
There,
you're cool,
well, there's especially one here that I really, really want to hit, because I think it's a common thought process.
yeah.
So the question is, isn't it in the interest of the high school applicant to apply to more than 12 colleges to increase their
Ooh,
chances of gaining admission?
let's talk about it.
You're not increasing your chances of admission if by applying to a million schools, right? Because what you're doing is, especially if you're applying to schools that are similar to one another, right? it- you have no control over what it is that they're looking for, right? So just by simply applying doesn't increase your chances to a bunch of different schools. Let's think of it like this, right? There are 8 Ivy League institutions. Okay, all of them have admission rates under 7%. Okay. So applying to each of them, you have a 7% chance of getting into each of them. So applying to all of them doesn't increase your chances of getting into any of them. So it's a little convoluted, but that's the easiest way that I can put it to you. It doesn't behoove you to do that. You should
Yeah.
be applying to colleges based on a good feeling about them, based on the fact that they have the program that you're excited about, based on the fact that you like the location and the food is good, and all kinds of things that can come down to an admission decision.
Completely agree. And on the other side of that is there's a lot of conversations, which I think is also feeding the beast, about these low selectivity rates because yeah, all the IVs are highly selected, all those things are like single digit admit rates. The reason why that's happening is because everyone's applying to a billion schools. Back in our day when we were young, a lot of kids applied to like 3 to 5 colleges. Now kids are doing 20, 30 colleges. And if everyone is doing that, everyone's getting these applications. And that is driving our selectivity rates way down. They're super, super tiny now because everyone's applying to like 20 schools. So we're all getting those applications. So it's feeding the beast, which I think is making people more anxious. So they want to apply to more. And it's just getting, on repeat. So I would say you want to be thoughtful and strategic about the schools you're applying to. We talk about good fit, like Mark said. Good fit means academic fit, social fit, financial fit. 20 colleges are not going to necessarily be a good fit for you socially, academically, and financially. The other part of that is you now have to keep up with 20 different applications. That's 20 different schools emailing you, 20 different portals, 20 different financial aid notifications, 20 different deadlines. Like you have to now keep up with all of that. That sounds awful to me, but yeah, so just I don't want you guys to like let your anxiety drive this rather than just throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Be strategic and thoughtful about the schools you're applying into. So this way, you don't have to do like 100 schools at once. That's too many.
And there are people like us, like Erica and I, at every college that you're going to be
Yeah,
thinking about applying to, and most of us are pretty cool. I mean,
I
I
would
think.
say so. I
So
mean, we're probably a
feel
little nerdy
free.
because we're talking about stuff like this and we love it. So,
That's true. We're
um,
all excited about it on a Friday night.
we're
But, let me tell you, we love talking to prospective students. So if you're looking at a college and you have some questions, please, please, please reach out to that admissions counselor at that college. It doesn't matter if you can't make it to campus ever, until you enroll in the campus. All you got to do is ask those questions, right? And get those
yeah.
answers. You're the driver of the process. You're the driver of your own process. So please, please, please get your questions answered out of the gate instead of waiting until way further in the process and potentially being disappointed by some of those answers.
And don't feel embarrassed, don't feel silly, don't feel because this process is a lot. It is new for most people, even people that have gone to college. Like I'm a third generation college graduate, and my mom was still like, "What is this?" Like it's so different and it's so new every single year. So, we're here to help you. We don't get paid per student we enroll or anything like that. Like there's no kind of benefit to us in that way. Like we're literally just here to make sure students get to go to college, even if it's my school, if it's Mark's school, if it's somebody else's school, it doesn't matter. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I think we could hit these three questions that we have left are all kind of
Yeah,
asking similar things.
they
So maybe we
are.
just kind of condense
Just,
them a little bit.
I like that
Right.
idea.
So some of the question, it's just giving some scenarios, right? Let's think about a scenario where a student is doing really, really, really well academically, but they don't have any extracurriculars.
Hmm.
Um, the other situation is, maybe you want to take a really cool high level international baccalaureate biology course, but you also have the opportunity to do some independent research with a professor at a university. What should you do? And then the other one is talking about a student with a lot of honors courses and is going to graduate with their associate's degree, graduate from high school with their associate's degree. Um,
Amazing.
is that a cool thing? What does that do for you? So,
I think that's a cool
um,
thing.
I think the general rule of thumb here, right, is to be taking we talked a lot about context, right? be taking courses that are tough in your context, right? We want to
Yes.
see that you're challenging yourself. We don't want to see that you're overdoing it, right? It's not a good idea to take a bunch of really hard classes if you're going to get a bunch of C's. Okay.
Right.
So do it in enough courses that you still have stamina to do all of them. Um,
Mhm.
no extracurricular activities, I would argue, is never a good idea. Um,
Yeah.
it is not something that you should shoot for, and there are seldom good reasons for that to occur.
I will
Um,
say this too, though, just as we saw with one of the students, if you have significant home responsibilities that go above and beyond the reasonable expectation of a high school student, if that's the reason why, like if you're working 30 hours a week to pay the bills for your family, or if you have like you're taking care of your grandmother because she has dementia, or you have to watch your younger siblings because your parents work two, three jobs. If that's the reason why you're not doing extracurriculars, that still counts, and you should tell us that.
absolutely,
But if you're not doing
absolutely.
extracurriculars because you just want to go home and watch Netflix, that's a very different thing.
That's no good. And that's why it's really, really, really important for you to tell us everything that is taking up some of your time, right?
Yes.
When you get to the extracurricular portion, if there is something that takes up your time that no, I'm just going to stop there. If there's something that takes up your time, you should tell us. You're super involved in a church organization. You have a job. You create Sudoku puzzles for the New York Times. Like any
I
number
do
of.
those.
Do you? Oh,
I do those.
wow,
Yeah,
that's
I
impressive.
do.
Those are tough.
Thank
Um, but it's really important that you are doing things that are meaningful to you. Oh yeah, that's a great point. Doing
Yeah.
things that are meaningful to you and making sure that you're telling us just everything that is going
Don't just
on.
do things. Don't just do things so that you think we want to see it.
Mm-mm.
Like, do you want to do research? Then do the research. Like, because some students are like, well, do you want to see sports? Do you want to see volunteer work? I'm like, what do you like? Do you
Mhm.
like playing sports? Do you like, dancing? Do you like doing music? Do that. Just do the things that you
Um,
love to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so much of this depends on the institution, right? The associate's degree. That's really cool, regardless. But if you're applying to an institution that's not going to accept those dual enrollment credits, then it doesn't really behoove you to because you're still going to have to attend that school for 4 years. Swarthmore is similar in that vein. And to the IB question versus research. I think the answer for most colleges is that they want you doing coursework. If you have the opportunity to take a tough class, right? Because if you're taking IB biology, hope maybe you have an interest in biology, you should take the course. Sure, it would be cool if you could do some research, and if you have an opportunity to do both, by all means, but you should never substitute coursework with some sort of side research project or anything like that.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, you could do research when you get to our universities, and we really want to make sure that you have the foundation and preparation for the classes. But if you can do both, fantastic. But the what's done in the classroom is always should come first. If you have questions, like you can always reach out to either of us, like or whatever
Hmm.
institution you're coming to. Um, I don't know if anybody here is from Philadelphia, the New York City, or Louisiana for Villanova, I'm your girl.
I know there
Oh
So
are people
yeah,
from Philadelphia. Barrier Breakers, we are contracted into the school district of Philadelphia. So I know that some of our Philly students are here.
you probably already seen me at your schools because I'm always at those schools like a weirdo. Like I'm always there, like talking to you guys about college. So
we love it. We
This
love
is
it. We love
yes.
Philly.
I cannot stop thanking you. I cannot express our gratitude for being an amazing representation of not just your institution, but the field and the profession as a whole. I think you've helped demystify it and maybe made it less scary. And so now people can see, hey, they're not scary. I can talk to them. And, we're trying
We're
to help
just people.
students, just
Hmm.
people. You got a cat and, dogs and kids.
I've been trying to keep my cat off the
You've
screen this whole time. Like
done
it's
well. You've done
okay.
well.
Thank you.
if you would like to learn more about admissions, then you need to read the blog on our website. It's barrier-breakers.org.